Okay, hello friends. I have for you today The Mitten. This story it's not exactly written by Jan Brett because it's a very, very old story that people used to tell without writing down in books. They used to listen to their grown-ups tell the stories, and then when they got older, they would tell the stories to their children. And some people put it down in some books, and Jan Brett is one of them. This is the story of the Mitten. The story is originally from the Ukraine. It says here, once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool, white as snow. Now I have to tell you, when we're looking at the story of the Mitten, you're going to want to pay very close attention, not just to what's going on in the middle in these pictures, but here inside this mitten, there's a picture of Baba. That's his grandma. And here she is again on this side, and look, she's picking out some wool, and she's picking out the white wool. Remember, Nicky wanted his mittens to be as white as snow. So this story, we get clues here and here. Now, at first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? If you drop a white mitten on white snow, it'll be very difficult to find. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens." Sounds to me like a warning that he better not lose those mittens. So off Nicky went. And it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Look at it, it's really hard to see, isn't it? Because the white on white. Yep, Baba knew Nicky was going to lose his mitten. What's going on here? There's a little animal in this mitten. A mole. There it is. A mole was tired from tunneling along and discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. And you can see here, while that's going on, Nicky is running off playing. And then on this side, there's another animal coming. It looks like a rabbit. All right. It says, a snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wriggled in feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. I don't think he wanted to get kicked. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. They didn't want to get hurt, so they made some room. Look at what's going on with this mitten. There's like 3 animals inside that mitten. I wonder, maybe it's a stretchy kind of a mitten. Maybe because it's knit. Baba knit the mitten. Maybe it's stretchy. You can see what Nicky's doing over here. You can see what animal is coming next over here. As soon as Hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But then they saw the owl's glinty talons, right there, the glinty talons. They quickly let him in. And then up through the snow appeared a badger. Came out of a hole right there in the snow. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left. But when they saw the badger's sharp diggers, they gave him the thumb. They said, "Come on in." Look at that mitten. The animals really are stretching this mitten out, aren't they? The more they push in, the bigger it gets. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave him lots of room. Fox wants to come in. He's coming in. Look at how stretched out it is. And you can see, there's Nicky still playing. No mitten on his hand. And look at what animal is coming next. It's a bear. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal is going to argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and it stretched. It pulled and bulged to many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. That Baba, she made a really good, strong mitten, didn't she? Oh, there's another animal coming. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn, little tiny guy. And she wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Now, just as that's happening, look what Nicky's doing. Nicky seems to have noticed something. Nicky realizes, oh no, I only have one mitten. Uh-oh. Now, remember the mouse was up on the bear's nose, right? The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ah, 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 chew! And the force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all different directions. These ones go flying these way. These ones go flying this way. The animals flew all over. And when that happened, the mitten shot right up into the air. And on his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. And look in the clues over here. The animals are just like, whoa, what happened? As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face down there in the window. First she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had both of his new mittens. But she does look a little surprised that one of them is suddenly so big. What do you say at the end of a story? The end. I usually read this story in class, and then what I typically do is I pull out a big knit afghan, a big blanket that's knit so it stretches, and then the children can act this out. One of the children gets to be the mole, and another child gets to be the rabbit, and then another child gets to be the owl, and another child gets to be this and that and the other thing in the bear, and then the last child comes into the mitten. They're all under the blanket. And then the little mouse tickles the bear's nose, and the bear goes, ah, 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 chew, and the children go flying around just like the animals did. It's usually great fun. This is not the year to do it, but maybe you have some members of your family that can do this with you, and maybe a couple of stuffed animals to fill in some empty spots, and maybe you two can act out the mitten. All right, thanks for listening.